G'day, AJ.
Mo, how you doing?
I am good, mate. How are you?
I'm doing very good too. Thank you for asking.
You're welcome. I'm glad to hear it. Yeah. Well, listen, AJ. Welcome to episode 1 of Songs on the Couch.
Episode 1.
Sitting down, we're talking out, breaking it down, songs on the couch. Music and minds, we'll figure it out, laughing and learning what it's all about. On the couch.
So, tell me, AJ,
Yes?
which song are we bringing over onto the couch today?
We are bringing over Mr. Brightside by The Killers from their first album, Hot Fuss, from 2004 was when the album was released. I know I said back in our introductory episode, I said 2003 is when it was released, but upon doing further research of the album and the band and the history, it actually came out in 2004. So I'm assuming from what I read, they could have been recording back in 2003. So just wanted to clarify that with the listeners, just in case they went, actually, hold on a second.
We are straight into correction corner. First episode.
That's it.
It's all right. We're human.
Absolutely. I know when to admit that if I've made a mistake. And I'm sure there's going to be plenty more. There's going to be more of those listeners.
Oh, there will. And we will continue to have a correction corner every episode, no doubt. Yeah. So speaking of time, 2004 was a long time ago. It's
20 years.
20 years ago. It is a timeless, cracking tune, isn't it?
Oh, absolute banger of a tune. It's played everywhere. Weddings, parties, anything, nightclubs, still charting in the radio. Not so much in Australia, but mainly the UK, the English. Love Mr. Brightside. Love the Killers. Love Mr. Brightside. Yeah.
What's the facts on that?
Well, so that's been on the charts since it came out back in 2004. It's been on the charts for over 437 non-consecutive weeks since its release.
Since 2004. Wow.
Which makes
that
a little fun fact, which makes it an actual World Guinness record. So Mr. Brightside is set a World Guinness record for the longest stay on the UK singles charts by any group in the UK.
Wow. Okay, so it is such a banger of a tune that it's got 20 years of staying power in the singles charts.
Does. Absolutely. I remember, going. It's funny because when I was looking up their influences in the history, it all makes sense to me now because I remember, going to nightclubs when I was younger, in the mid 2000s, going to not use typical nightclubs, but more like your punk, hard heavy metal nightclubs.
Right.
They'd play like punk songs, heavy metal songs, and then Mr. Brightside would come on, and I'd be like, okay, what? But amazingly, everyone in the club, regardless, they were all jumping up and down, singing along to that chorus, which is a subliminal chorus. Like everyone just knows it and everyone gets up to it.
About jealousy turning saints into the sea.
Yep.
Yeah. And you know what? The uniting force of the song, I bet you everyone was on the dance floor hugging it out, drunk, arms around each other, young men full of angst.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah.
Hanging out with their mates, pouring their hearts out.
That's right. And their sound, their influences are post-punk revival, synth pop. So like that 80s new wave, post-punk, like The Cure, The Smiths, Depeche Mode, New Order. That was their influences. And you can hear it, especially the Smiths, that jangly, crystallizing type sound, guitarist tones with, monotone lyrics with the Smiths, vocals, I should say. But it all makes sense now. Like why DJs, they're not silly. Why they would chuck Mr. Brightside up, or a post-punk influential new wave band in a metal nightclub after a metal song or after a real, punk song.
Right.
Because
it's got some origins in there. It's got some origins in there. And so it kind of speaks to the ability of this song to kind of, transcend genres and be accepted by, the faithful of other genres because there's some influences in there.
Absolutely. Yeah, most definitely.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Right. You got any other tidbits about this little ditty? Any interesting facts, figures?
Yeah, absolutely. Full of facts, full of goodies.
Go ahead.
I don't know about you listeners and you, Mo, but I whenever I hear a new artist or a band or even ones that I faithfully know or that I'm a fan of, I've always wanted to know where they got their name from, whether it's the band name or like a solo artist name who might choose a stage name. Like, I'll give you a classic example, like Ringo Starr, Elton John, that's not their real names, but we know them all by that name. It's like, well, what made you come up with that? Why did you choose that band name? And the Killers, once again, I was like, why did the Killers choose the Killers? And now the Killers was actually inspired by, a fictional band featured in a music video for New Order. Once again, another post-punk type band.
Another influence. An influence.
Yep, New Order's 2001 single, Crystal. So it's obviously the Killers are mentioned in that song, and they're a fan of that song. They're like, oh, let's call ourselves that because that is, it's a great name. And as a musician myself, in all bands that I've been in, I've always been the first one to say I couldn't tell you what our band should be called because I'm thinking of band names. So those bands out.
Well, this seems to be a great homage to one of their influences, right?
Absolutely.
If they're influenced by New Order and they've taken on the name of a band, a fictional band in one of their, was it film clips, one of their videos or something?
Yeah, it was like New Order's film clip had a fictional band in it. Which
I can imagine it was probably on the drum head. The bass drum head. Did I get that right?
Probably. I'll have to look it up. I'd probably.
I mean, is that what we call it though?
Oh,
is that what we call?
The bass drum head. Yep.
Did I get that? Okay, I got that right. Okay.
Because most bands will have the band name across the bass drum, the front of the bass drum to signal like, hey, this is the band, because you can't really put it on a guitar or on the vocalist because they're singing into a microphone. So the best place to put a band name is on the front of the drums.
And you can't really wear your own T-shirt, can you?
Well, no, you can't. But there have been plenty of artists and bands that wear their own band T-shirts, or a classic band 10cc. The drummer wore a knitted jumper of his own face, knitted in a jumper, while playing the drums. So you can do it.
Because you can do it because we didn't have Temu back in the day of 10cc. We didn't have online orders in the days of 10cc. So Nana had to knit his
own jumper.
Likeness.
Yep. On his own, and he wore it.
All right. Well, we're not talking about 10cc. Right. We're talking about the Killers. Okay. So they're a band from Las Vegas.
Yep.
They've pulled out this cracking tune, Mr. Brightside, off a 2004 album that has stayed the course, stayed in the charts.
Yeah. And I think that the reason that it stayed in the charts is the way the song was put together, essentially. The lyrics, everyone knows the lyrics to those songs, especially the chorus. Everyone knows that introduction guitar part, which, I'm sure listeners, when we played that little introduction before telling you what the song is, you would have gone, I know exactly which song you're doing, people. It's those distinct moments that makes a song really stand out from other songs, and that's what these guys have done it brilliantly.
Yeah. It's that scratchy little uncomfortable guitar sound. It's the angst in Brandon Flowers' vocal. It's I mean, that's an interesting story, isn't it? About the writing of those lyrics, right?
Well, that's right. He his girlfriend at the time broke up with him due to cheating on him. What happens when someone breaks up with you? You're full of raw emotion, and how else do we put our emotions out? Is we put it on paper, and he put all of his emotions out on paper then and there. He literally wrote those lyrics for that song moments after his girlfriend broke up with him, or after he broke up with his girlfriend.
Right.
And those lyrics are what we call like single take lyrics. So what that means is, when we're writing a story or we're always, when we're writing anything, we're always revisiting. We've got drafts, copy draft 1, 2, 3. His lyrics are what we call single take lyrics. Is what is written down is what you hear on the song. There's no changing, no drafts. You're hearing his raw feelings,
his raw emotion
from that point of time of that breakup.
Yeah. And should we talk about that? Should we get into a little bit of psychological analysis
Let's talk about that.
What's going on? Well, I mean, as you spoke about at the beginning, it's kind of, it's a bit of an upbeat song. It's a bit, you find it on every dance floor, it's kind of, but that sort of kind of upbeat tempo belies something more sinister.
There is. And credit to bands and artists who, and a lot of bands and artists do that, where they will put a really driving, happy tone. Obviously that, the number one rule of an artist is that we want to get you up and dancing. So how do we do that? We make a song drivey, we make it upbeat. But then what we really want to convey is the undertones and in the lyrics of it all. And this is where Brandon does it wonderfully, by saying, let's get you up and dancing and get you singing along to these lyrics. But really there's more to it.
I'm here to tell you a story.
Yeah, absolutely. A story of jealousy and heartbreak.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. So I think overall, the construct of the song really is it's the story of a man who has been wronged. Who has essentially been wronged. But he's grappling with the wrongness of his situation, I think, if we take a bit of a closer look at, I guess, sort of the first part of the song, the first lyric, where he tells us that he's coming out of his cage and he's been doing just fine. Have you, Brandon?
Yeah,
have you?
That's right. Yeah.
I don't know if you've been doing just fine. I think, the psychological construct here is really about denial, really. That's denial, I think, and that's a term that we hear in popular culture heaps. When we deny things, it's kind of a psychological defense mechanism that we use to keep ourselves away from really complex and difficult feelings about something. And so here I think Brandon is kind of trying to convince himself that he's doing just fine. But
that's right. And who really wants to, believe, or wants to believe what's really going on? It's happy to just be like, oh no, everything's fine. No, I don't want to face the real issue here. It's all good.
Well, because, if we don't use denial, we do have to face the real issue, is that the real issues in heartbreak are clearly things like, I am undesirable. I am no longer desirable to someone. Oh, that stings. Or something like, I've done something wrong. There's something fundamentally wrong with me, that is making you fall out of love with me. That if we kind of look at the truth of a breakup, we have to face some really hard stuff, and some hard stuff about ourselves. And I think oftentimes as humans, we sort of have this propensity to internalize rather than externalize. We kind of go, oh, it's me, I'm bad and I'm wrong, and it's like it's me. It's got to be me. Instead of
when someone breaks up with you, they always say it's not you, it's me. But really, are they really saying it's actually you? It's not me.
It's actually you. And especially if someone cheats on you, do you have much of a choice to think anything else but it is me?
That's right.
So I think this is where denial is, sort of very adaptive sometimes, because if we deny something, we don't have to face those very complicated feelings of self-loathing and I guess disappointment in ourselves. And so, to set the scenario of the song, from what we've learned from what you've told us, he wrote the song when he'd broken up with his girlfriend, or she'd broken up with him, or, there'd been some infidelity, right? So he's trying to convince himself that he's just fine about that. He says in the next line, he says, I gotta be down because I want it all.
Yeah, that's right.
I think he's trying to, is he trying to convince himself that he's kind of got to be okay with what his girlfriend's done if he wants to continue a relationship with her? I gotta be okay with the infidelity. I gotta be okay with entering a non-consensual, non-monogamous relationship that I didn't sign up for.
Well, that's right. But when you listen to the lyric, when he's singing the main lyric, it's kind of, you can hear the denial in the main vocals, but if you really listen to it, you can hear this background vocal in the gotta be down, and it's like almost like this subconscious screaming out saying, this is the real me, but it's not quite loud enough for you to notice, but it's there.
Yeah.
And that's really clever, that the way he's sung it, in that, I'm going to sing it like a normal, I'm not going to put angst, I'm not going to put screaming, it's just normal, like everything's okay. But then they put this double layer backing vocal of him actually going, I think there's what he really wants to convey, but he can't put it in the whole song. He's just putting this little subconscious behind it all.
Yeah. Maybe what he's trying to reveal to us is like that this is a conflict. I'm trying to tell myself I've got to be down, but my unconscious is telling me I don't got to be down. I don't want to be down. My unconscious is telling me that I am uncomfortable with being down, and that's sort of a psychological construct that we might call cognitive dissonance, right? Where we've got this internal tension between what we want to believe and what's actually happening. Yeah. And what we truly feel, we've got this disconnect. And so, I kind of feel like he's revealing to us that he is deeply conflicted here. He wants to continue his relationship with his girlfriend. So maybe he's got to be okay with the fact that she's cheated on him, that she stepped outside of the relationship. Maybe he's, kind of not only conflicted, but going through a sort of assessment of self, like who am I and what are my values here, and I'm in a situation that I need to make some hard decisions about.
And that's the hardest thing to do, is coming to face the hardest decisions that you can make for yourself, I think. That's the hardest thing to do.
Yeah, it is a hard thing to do, especially if you're in a situation where you really want your girlfriend.
Yeah. But I also think here, though, he's trying to do that, but he's also putting thoughts and stories into his, like he's saying, you know, now she's fallen asleep and she's getting a cab. So I think he's starting to make up stories in his own head as well of situations that might not be true.
Yeah, he is. So a couple of constructs there that are very interesting is probably, you know, the first one is that it's the thing that's happened to him is really traumatic, right? And when well, you know, let's take a little bit of a look at trauma. Trauma is often, well, the way I like to look at it is it's a deep emotional injury, generally, you know, caused by someone else, and it's an emotional injury that sort of injures our morals, you know, our sense of what's right and wrong, and when we've been emotionally injured, we can get stuck in this thought process called rumination. And, you know, when you sort of talk about the fact that he's making up stories in his head or potentially he is, you know, there's a few functions to rumination. You know, it really helps us, you know, and sorry, I'll describe what rumination is. That it's
when you say rumination, I automatically think just like numbers, like numeracy.
No, there's no, and well, that's numeracy, not rumeracy.
See, stick to drumming. That's why I just stick to music, people. Count to 4, then repeat myself. That's as far as I go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right. And that's it. Jeez Louise.
So rumination is that internal thought process that happens to us where we think about things over and over again. We create scenarios in our head and think about them over and over again. But there's a few functions to that. So, you know, the first one is it's like if we create a thought or a visual scenario over and over again, it might help us kind of like identify and understand what the problem is. Like who created the problem? How has this problem emerged? You know, particularly in a situation that seems really complex, we are trying to find what the problem is. We're trying to find where the problem originated. We're trying to find whose fault it is, you know? And so maybe that's one of the reasons that he's starting to ruminate. Is he trying to like really in his mind land his girlfriend in it and reinforce her role as, you know, the philanderer, the person that was unfaithful.
Yeah.
Is he trying to solidify and cement that fact? So it's, you know, it's kind of about problem identification. Rumination is also about emotion processing as well. Like we use these thoughts in our head to try to process the emotions, like try to help us push through difficult and stuck feelings. If we keep ruminating and we keep thinking about it over and over again, it might it's kind of like taking your shoes off and walking bare feet. If I keep re-exposing myself, like if I keep walking on hard surfaces with, you know, raw feet, bare feet, you know, I will toughen myself up. I will be able to process the emotions. I'll be able to like discharge them from myself.
Yeah.
I'll be able to push them out of myself. You know, so it's kind of the brain's attempt to process the difficult emotions that emerge in these very complex relational situations.
Absolutely. But at the same time, I think he wants to be let go. You know, he's saying, "Let me go."
Yeah, okay.
I just can't look. It's killing me. They're taking control. So, you know, I think he's also having a bit of an internal fight with himself, saying, "I don't want to. Like, I need to move on. I want to move on, but my mind is not letting me move on." You know, what's going on is taking over. Taking over.
It is taking over, and you know, I mean, psychological constructs or no psychological constructs, like what a deeply painful experience infidelity is.
Oh yeah, it's not fun being cheated on. I'm sure. I personally haven't been cheated on, but I would imagine it would not be very fun at all.
Yeah, it's pretty rocky for a person, and you know, maybe the rumination is his mind kind of like trying to process it to a point that he is let go of it, or maybe his mind, that the function of his rumination is for him to feel like he's in control. You know, he can give you it. It can maybe give him an illusion that he's in control, like his brain is doing something about this very complex thing that he wants to be let go of. Maybe. So he's a bit ruminative and a bit obsessive, which is kind of evident in his repetition of, you know, some words and, you know, where he kind of tells us directly that he's conjuring up images and visuals about what they might be doing. Yep. He's really trying to make sense of what's going on, I reckon.
He is. But I also think, you know, he's getting, because he mentions jealousy, you know, I think he's also getting jealous at the situation of, you know, what's happened as well.
Well, you would be jealous, wouldn't you, if someone's, you know, run off with your missus, as we
like say down under, run off with your missus.
Run off with your missus. But let's talk about jealousy, because jealousy is a very interesting emotion. Jealousy is like that emotion. It's a little bit different from envy. So I'll start there. I'll start with envy. So envy is that emotion where someone's got something that you don't have, like, and it creates a feeling of discontent inside of you. Like, that's envy. But jealousy is the feeling that you feel when it's a relational emotion. So it's an emotion that comes up to kind of let us know that there is a threat to my attachments and my relationships, right? So that's what jealousy is. When there is a threat to a relationship, we feel that. It's very interesting what he says about jealousy. He says that jealousy turns saints into the sea. And I think what he's saying there is that jealousy makes you do shit.
Mm-hmm. It does.
That you might not normally do, like accepting the fact, okay, well, if I got to be down because I want it all, maybe I have to accept that my partner has stepped outside of our relationship. That's what I think about what jealousy has done to poor Brandon Flowers in this song, because, you know, he goes on to sort of say that he's swimming through sick lullabies and choking on your alibis. Like, the cognitive dissonance is real there. He's you know, he's sort of saying, I'm tolerating this stuff, but there's a part of me that I feel really disconnected from, my values, who I am, all the kind of things that I've held about fidelity and monogamy and infidelity. Well, they are just getting
ripped to shreds.
All over.
Oh yeah, ripped to shreds. Yeah, absolutely.
to shreds.
And
Poor
love,
love.
and poor love, absolutely. And love is a powerful an emotion, because I guess he's saying, well, if I really love this person, am I happy to give up my values? I'm happy to swim through the sickness, or am I happy to choke on? And he could be referring to his own alibis in his head. Am I happy to give up my own alibis just to make this still happen, or am I tricking on my alibis to?
Or am I creating an alibi? Am I just creating these because, to be able to tolerate or swallow this bitter pill that I have been offered.
That's right.
As the what we might call in relationship counseling, the hurt partner. So
what do you mean by the hurt partner?
The hurt partner. So the partner who has been betrayed. Of course. Yeah, the hurt partner. So, yeah. So, there's a lot going on here. There's a lot of adaptive defense mechanism of denial. So he is denying that he is anything but just fine. But let's name it. He is not just fine. Let's kind of name the feelings that he would be going through as the hurt partner. Yep. Well, the first one is hurt.
Oh, of course.
Right?
They don't call it a hurt partner. They don't call it a hurt partner for nothing. Right? I'm okay partner. No, right? I'm the hurt partner.
I'm the hurt partner. Yeah. What else do you reckon he's feeling?
Hurt, anguish, probably anger. He could be feeling anger, like why did this happen?
Yeah.
Heartbreak, obviously. I don't know how long him and his partner were together for, but if you're together with someone for a long time and then they go and do something, you're like, well, why? Questions, people have questions, and
so he's feeling curious.
As to why.
I think he's also feeling a bit destabilized. Or because you're right. If you have been with someone for a while, right, your lives become intertwined. And so right. it may be, it's not just the emotional injury that we talk about with the trauma. It might be, there might be a lot more at stake, like a lot more related to how am I going to meet my basic needs now? How am I going to, if our lives are intertwined and we share income and
have a house,
share
have pets,
property,
all those things.
Right. So that could be really destabilizing. I'm not saying that happened for poor Mr. Flowers, but there is some other logistical elements that might come along with an infidelity that we, that are important that we need to think about. So, so I think he's sort of telling us that his cognitive dissonance is real. It is deep and true. He is really fighting against his values and what he held dear inside of him to keep connected with his partner. Yep. He is ruminating for several reasons. He is trying to figure out what the problem is. He's trying to process all of the emotions of this chaotic and I don't know what's another word for us, not just chaotic. It's like a chaotic betrayal, really. Or
and in the lyrics he says, it's the price that I have to pay. Destiny is calling me. So what do you think he means by, it's the price? Obviously, once again, I'm assuming if you're the hurt partner, you're the one that's paying the price in the end, aren't you?
Yeah.
Because you're the one that's hurt.
Or, you are paying the price of emotional hurt. That is true. But is the price also, if I want to keep my partner, if I still want to be involved with her, the price that I have to pay is this cognitive dissonance, right? Where I allow that to happen, I allow that contact and that connection to continue, but that means that I have to compromise my values and my morals. So I have to sit with the uncomfortableness of this. Is this the price that I'm paying to stay attached? I have to pay a price of discomfort.
That's right. And that's probably why I'm saying, open up my eager eyes, because I'm not exposed to this. So I'm gonna be curious and eager as to what this other side of me is about.
Yeah, maybe. It really could be like, can I cope with this? What is this other side of me about? Can I tolerate this? Can I, okay, maybe I can if I use, an adaptive defense mechanism like denial and avoidance by just calling myself Mr. Brightside. I'll just be Mr. Brightside.
Yeah, that's
now.
right. Yeah, it's all good. Nothing to see here. Move along.
No emotional injury here. No. Just a chipper, optimistic, happy-go-lucky guy who's just like trying to swallow his cognitive dissonance about the fact that he entered into this, monogamous relationship that he signed up for that has now turned into a non-consensual, non-monogamous relationship. And when he wails, I never, what did you never, Mr. Flower? Did you never expect that you'd have to face such complexity in your relationship?
Yeah, maybe. I would, well, my thinking is that this is probably the first time that he's been cheated on. So he's probably feeling like, oh, this never happened to me. This would never happen to me. Right. Why is this happening to me? So it's like, I
never expected this. I never expect that this would happen to me. He's clutching his pearls.
Yes. Oh, dearie me.
Taking a big gasp in. There's probably a lot in this that he never expected. He probably never expected to feel so destabilized. He probably never expected someone that he put a lot of trust and energy and love and respect into to be so self-indulgent. Or, it's interesting. And maybe, there's another song that might speak a bit more deeply to the construct of infidelity, but theoretically, infidelity is a lot about people not really being able to ask for what they need in their relationship and going outside of their relationship to find the thing that they need. And, for various reasons, not being able to ask for what they need. Also, infidelity is kind of, there's another theory out there. I think it's Esther Perel's theory. She sort of talks about infidelity as being a kind of a fantasy or an opportunity for us to regress to an earlier, more carefree, younger, more vital part of ourselves. So I'm not sure how that relates to the I never part, but interesting.
Very interesting. Well, I guess we never go into a relationship thinking, are you going to cheat on me at what stage of our relationship? Like you just never think that whenever you meet someone and you start, going into a relationship with someone, you never think, one day this person might cheat on me. Like you just have trust. It's just a relationship is all about trust, isn't it? So I get it.
It is about trust.
And you can hear it when he's singing it, saying, the screaming of I never. It's almost looking back at himself or screaming to the world saying, I never expected my partner to cheat on me.
I never thought that she had this in her.
That's right.
I never thought that I never expected that my trust would be breached in this way.
That's right. I'm a good guy. There's nothing wrong with me. I'm Mr. Brightside.
Yeah, I never thought I'm Mr. Brightside. I never thought I'd be this undesirable that someone would, want to walk away from me. But I'll just stick to being Mr. Brightside, because what I'll try and do is I will try and use self-delusion and denial to just see if I can maintain some semblance of my relationship. See if I can just manage to hang on to her and let her go and explore her I think the word is dalliance, something like that. No, you don't know that word.
What is dalliances? Dalliances.
Oh, we better look that one up. A dalliance is we better look that one up. It is like a casual romantic or sexual relationship is a dalliance.
Right.
Yes. So derived from the French, probably.
I was going to say it
sounds good.
Dalliance.
Sounds
Dalliance.
Yeah. So in all, let's, in summation, let's, have a really good think about some of the main constructs here in Mr. Brightside. We have got a serious emotional injury, right? It's traumatic. He has had a partner who has stepped outside of the relationship. And in order to manage the very complex and painful feelings related to that infidelity, he has got a bit stuck in rumination and, creating scenarios in his mind and thinking about things over and over again, in a sense, to gain insight about himself and the others, maybe to even try to feel like he's in control of it. And, it's all because he's kind of maybe forced into this position where he's had to accept something to maintain attached. He's had to accept his partner's dalliances or dalliance. To maintain an attachment, so poor Mr. Flowers, but cracking tune.
And listen, and how can I put this? The average listener is not going as deep as what we do, and that's what makes the song so great, because it's the way that they've portrayed this song and the way that they've produced the song in a manner of, it's a dance track. It's not a depressing, woe is me, my girlfriend cheated on me. Which artists, there are songs out there that make you feel sad because the artist feels that. It's like, no, I want to make you feel how I'm feeling, where he's turned it into I'm going to make you feel how I'm feeling, but more in a angsty, angry type way, as well as keeping you up on the dance floor and jumping up and down to my song, because A, I want a number one hit, and B, I don't want people to feel sad for me. I want people to be jumping up and down to my song.
Mate, there's a beautiful incongruence, isn't there, between, the tempo and the key that it's in, and then the potential meaning of the song that sits underneath it.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely.
Beautiful song for our first episode, AJ.
Oh, it's perfect song for our first episode. I think if you were to start a podcast to do with music analytically, psychologically analyzed, I'm using my words wrong, but I think this would be a perfect song to start with. So I think I hope that listeners, we haven't deterred you by not still wanting to jump up and down to this song when it's played, but to kind of go, is that okay? I see what you're doing there. All right, I'm going to pay a little bit more attention next time you play that song.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah. Okay. Fantastic. I'm glad we could do this one. It's rich and had all the fruit.
It did. But obviously you can go check this song out on all media platforms. digital hard copy. If you've got the CD at home or the vinyl or cassette tape, I don't know if it came out on cassette, but go put it on and have another listen and really think about it.
Yeah. And have a jump up and down too.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Well, signing off from episode 1 of Songs on the Couch.
It.
We will see you next
time. See you next time.
Thanks for tuning in to Songs on the Couch. We hope you enjoyed putting today's song under the microscope with us.
And hey, the conversation doesn't have to end here. Join us over on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Just search Songs on the Couch, where we're sharing behind-the-scene clips, more fun music insights, and of course, chatting with you all.
And if you're an artist, musician, psychologist, counsellor, psychotherapist, or know someone who'd love to sit on the couch with us, have your management reach out. We'd love to hear from you at hello@songsonthecouch.com.
Follow us, subscribe, and let's keep rocking out together. Catch you next time on Songs on the Couch.